NHRA Drag Racing Series, the top American drag racing championship and really the top quality drag racing anywhere in the world. We're taking a look first of all at the semi-finals in the Pro Stocks, and Warren Johnson will be up against Mark Powick, and Kurt Johnson, Warren's son, will be up against Jed Coughlin. And we'll start off with the Kurt Johnson versus Jed Coughlin semi-final in the Pro Stocks. These are not quite as outlandish, perhaps, as the funny cars, based more closely on their road-going brethren. The bodywork has to be that little bit closer to the road-going specialty rather than just a fiberglass top to a chassis. We're taking a look here at Kurt Johnson. Now, Johnson, the 36-year-old from Georgia, up against this man, Jed Coughlin, the 29-year-old from Columbus, Ohio, started drag racing back in 1989. That's Coughlin nearest to the camera in the yellow and black machine. Kurt Johnson on the far side, son of Warren Johnson, who's going to be in the other semi-final. So these two, the first of the semi-finals in the Pro Stocks then, and the two cars just moving up into position, staging. The two lights, sets of lights at the top of the Christmas tree will come on once they're in position, and then watch for the lights to go from amber to green in a flash, and away they go. And Kurt Johnson on the far side in the blue, but it's Jed Coughlin on the near side in the yellow and black machine who takes the win, and that moves him into the final. So a good result indeed for Jed Coughlin. You can see reaction time of 0.70 against a reaction time of 0.488 for Kurt Johnson. A replay then of the battle. Kurt Johnson wasn't too happy with his Chevy Camaro in the previous rounds, and he did not get it right in this one either. So Jed Coughlin in the Oldsmobile Cutlass came through for the win. Now let's move on to the second semi-final in the Pro Stocks then. Warren Johnson is next up, the 56-year-old father of Kurt. Well, he's just seen his son beaten in his semi-final, but what can Warren Johnson do up against Mark Powick, the 42-year-old from Ohio, who's had some 4 career victories coming into this season. Now then, get them in position. And nearest the camera is Warren Johnson, the veteran competitor, 4 times the Pro Stock champion in his career, the second most successful driver in NHRA history. So he's nearest the camera, Mark Powick on the far side. Let's see who gets it. A blast of power, and away they go. Warren Johnson nearest the camera. Is he slightly ahead? It's very close between the two of them, and across the line, an excellent battle between the two of them. Warren Johnson just getting it, the win, 0.483 reaction time, just 3 thousandths faster than Mark Powick in the other lane, and Warren Johnson therefore going through to the final. Last time they met was in one of the final rounds, and Johnson beats Powick on that occasion, and again Johnson getting the advantage and also taking a lane choice into the final. That'll be the lineup for the final then, Jed Coughlin versus Warren Johnson. We'll be seeing that a little bit later on. Now, here's Whit Bazemore. We're into the funny car semi-finals now. And let's take a look at how they line up. John Force, the 8-time funny car champion, up against Tommy Johnson Jr. And Ron Capps is up against the man we saw just there beneath the bodywork, Whit Bazemore. We're going to start off with the Ron Capps Whit Bazemore semi-final. And Bazemore, the 36-year-old from Indianapolis, who started his career after attending the Frank Hawley Drag Racing School at Gainesville in Florida some years ago. Former photographer, professional photographer in fact, so Whit Bazemore. Both motorsports and nature photography he was interested in. Well, it's a slightly different environment he finds himself in these days as one of the top drag racers in the country. Bazemore on the far side, Capps on the near side. Oh, and Capps has had a major problem. Bazemore comes through for a very easy victory, but Capps, you could see there was a minor explosion underneath the bodywork, and indeed there is a fire underneath Ron Capps' bodywork as he tries to get that thing to a halt and clambers out. There he is, out of the roof hatch. He is out safely, but the next problem is to try and get that fire out as quickly as possible, and he's desperately trying to get the bodywork up to save some of it. Common occurrence, of course, these fires, particularly in the funny cars, and getting trapped beneath that bodywork, but the fire marshals are there very quickly, and they can get that blaze under control. Well, all excitement then in the funny cars. Final look at the left-hand side. Ron Capps, you could see the explosion there, and then the fire starting. But thankfully, Ron Capps able to get out of the car okay, and after taking a little bit of oxygen from the paramedics, he is fine. He's suffering a little bit of shock perhaps, but he's okay. Whit Bazemore went through from that one then, and now we look at the second semi-final, John Force versus Tommy Johnson Jr. So here we are. There is John Force, the 8 times funny car champion, an incredible career, one of the real stars of the NHRA, and once again leading the funny car championship of 1999. Tommy Johnson Jr. nearest the camera in the Interstate Batteries machine. And here we are, all set for blast-off. Away they go. It's a good start for Johnson Jr., but Force is just stronger in that far lane, and John Force goes through to the final once again. Nobody seems to be able to stop this man. Look at that, quicker on the reaction time, 0.527, and a terminal speed there of 316 miles per hour. 316 miles per hour in 4.9 seconds. The figures, the statistics of drag racing are almost unbelievable. So Whit Bazemore and John Force will do battle in the final of the funny cars. John Force will have lane choice, and we'll be seeing that a little later on. Now then, let's turn our attention to the top fuelers and into the semi-finals once again. Top 3 in the championship in the top fuelers, Mike Dunn, Kenny Bernstein and Joe Amato. They were all beaten in the first round of the final day. And that means it's still going to be very open at the top of the top fuelers championship. Now, first semi-final sees Doug Kalita versus Eddie Hill. Hill knocked out Bernstein and Tony Schumacher as well. Schumacher also running well up in the championship. No relation, I can say, to our very own Michael and Ralph. Meanwhile, Doug Kalita, former sprint car champion, has won 14 midget and 7 sprint car victories in his career, but now very much a drag racing man. And away they go, blast off time again, and on the far side in the Pennzoil machine it's Eddie Hill who takes the win. So Eddie Hill will be going through to the final. That's his 34th career final. He's taken 13 wins over the years. Now on to the second semi-final, Gary Scelzi versus, in the Miller Lite car, Larry Dixon. Dixon has twice been a runner-up in events this year. Gary Scelzi, a consistent front-runner, but not featuring at the top of the championship. Remember, most of the championship favourites. Well, Scelzi running fairly close to the top, and particularly if he gets a good run here, then Scelzi in with a chance of closing the gap to Mike Dunn, the championship leader. Kenny Bernstein running second in the series at the moment. And now we wait to see who's going to take this one. Scelzi on the right. Away they go, and it's the car nearest the camera getting in a little bit out of shape, but taking the win. And it's Larry Dixon, therefore, who wins that semi-final and goes through to the final. Scelzi not fast enough on this occasion. And Larry Dixon will go through. His elapsed time, 4.5 seconds to cover the quarter mile. Terminal speed of 307 miles an hour. A little bit down on the 315 miles per hour of Gary Scelzi. Lane choice goes to Larry Dixon for the top fuelers final. Now then, we're on to the finals, and we are going to start with the Pro Stocks. Remember, it's Warren Johnson versus Jeg Coughlin. And we just saw the onboard view there with Jeg Coughlin smoking the tyres, getting ready for this all-important final. 2 wins for Jeg Coughlin already this year. But can he beat off the old warhorse himself, Warren Johnson? He might be 56 years old, but he is extremely rapid. Johnson's wife, Arlene, filming the race, as ever. She films all of the competitions that Warren's involved in. Now, the car's staging. Taking their time to move into position. Each perhaps not wanting to be the first to get that second set of lights lit up at the top of the Christmas tree. Eventually, Johnson creeps forward a little bit, stages. Coughlin gets ready. And they're away. And Jed Coughlin on the outside, on the far side there, definitely with a better getaway. And it's Coughlin all the way. And Warren Johnson is beaten for this one. And it's Coughlin's third win of the season. The Oldsmobile Cutlass comes through for Jed Coughlin. 194 miles an hour at the end of the strip. And a .444 reaction time. Excellent indeed from Jed Coughlin. Taking a look at the replay from the onboard here, and Jed Coughlin did it all the way, really. No problem at all. And a very impressive weekend. Coughlin taking the trophy home then. And in the championship, Warren Johnson still with the advantage over son Kurt. But Jed Coughlin with that result, moving slightly further up the ranking. Now let's get on to the funny car final, and remember in this one we've got the 8-time champion John Force versus Whit Bazemore. Bazemore on the far side, John Force in the Castrol GTX machine nearer the camera. John Force already enjoying a healthy championship lead as he looks for title number 9. What an amazing record for this man nearest the camera. But can Bazemore deny him on this occasion? It's Force nearest the camera. It's very, very close. Bazemore on the outside, but it's Force, John Force, who just takes it. And that was a closely fought battle all the way. Look at the figures. 313 miles an hour. He got it towards the end there, John Force. And the elapsed time, 4.929 seconds, as against 5.000 for Whit Bazemore. That was a close battle between the two of them. But it's John Force in the Mustang who takes the win. Another look at the replays. John Force on the left-hand side. Let's hear from the man who's taken yet another success.
Some days they don't dance, some days they do. But today this whole heap, she danced. And we got around Bazemore, and makes us feel very confident going into Indy. But I'm excited for action and all the people that stood behind this whole team.
So very happy John Force once again. And just a reminder, he has a healthy lead in the championship. Tony Pedregon at lying second place, with Bazemore in third, ahead of Del Worsham and Dean Scusa. Indeed, John Force now just one off the all-time total of 85 NHRA wins, held by Bob Glidden. Now we move on to the Top Fuel final, and it's Eddie Hill on the far side in the Pennzoil car versus Larry Dixon in the Miller Lite machine. Remember Eddie Hill, the 63-year-old from Texas, won the championship back in 1993 when he was 57 years old. There he is, the older man here. Seeing the two of them up against the 33-year-old Californian nearest the camera. He was Rookie of the Year in 1995. Larry Dixon, and he is in the Miller Lite. Away they go then. Blast off all the way. Oh, and it's so close again, but it's a win for Larry Dixon. Larry Dixon just at the end, managing to sneak it. And 4.5 elapsed time over the quarter mile. Just 4.5 seconds. Up to a speed again of just under 300 miles per hour. Eddie was a little slower off the line, but then managed to go ahead, but then a problem. Look, no exhaust flame, and unfortunately a blower belt came off Eddie Hill's car.
Oh man, I tell you what, I saw all of that Pennzoil car, and he was driving away, and I'm saying, I'm hoping something will happen to him. And our car started to make a move, and then something must have happened to him, and you know, I saw that win line, and I'm like, woo, it's about time.
So a bit of luck this time for Larry Dixon, as a mechanical problem put Eddie Hill out of it there. And the championship still very close for the top fuelers. Look at that. Mike Dunn, Kenny Bernstein, Gary Selby, Doug Kalita, they're all in with a chance here. Tony Schumacher still with an outside chance as well. So the winners of the day here in Minnesota, Jed Coughlin, John Force and Larry Dixon. And we'll be bringing you more NHRA action over the coming weeks, and we've got European drag racing coming up later in the programme.